Hello friends, so today's video is going to be a list of some of my seasonal favorites, as in books, some of my favorite books I've read over the summer. I actually have had a rather slumpy summer when it comes to my reading. I haven't found too many books that I absolutely adored. I've enjoyed quite a few things. I've also DNF'd a little bit more than usual for me, but either way, just to give you a heads up, I'm not including anything that I've picked up in September. I know technically summer, at least where I live in the US, doesn't end until towards the latter half of September, but I'm not including anything from this month. There was one thing I did fall in love with, which I will get to, but before we do that, a big thank you to today's sponsor, which would be Karma. Karma, which was formerly known as ShopTagger, is an extension for Chrome, not Safari, an extension for Chrome that allows you to see when you can get discounts on something. You can get push notifications or email alerts when something goes on sale, when something comes back into stock. It finds the best coupons for you, and you can also get it as an app on your phone. I actually was very fortunate when it comes to using this kind of technology. I actually made a whole video about it as to how I was able to use that technology to get my PlayStation 5. Any of you that are gamers know it is very difficult to get the PlayStation 5. And it was because of their technology, when it alerts you, that I was able to immediately, I was working one day on my computer, got a little notification, jumped on it, and that's how I was able to get my PlayStation 5. The reason I think it's really relevant to the favorite book that I'm going to be talking about in today's video is I know a lot of you, when I've talked about the Winnowing Flame trilogy, the first one being Ninth Reign, have had the hardest time finding these books. Last I checked, they are currently in stock, but the nice thing about Karma is that it will alert you when things come back into stock. So if when you search for this book series, you can't really find it, you can at least set it through Karma to give you an alert as to when it's back in stock, and then hopefully get your hands on this wonderful book series. But to show you how Karma works, when you're using Karma on your computer, you just download the Chrome extension. It's very easy. You basically have to do nothing, and I am not good with technology. But once you have it, you can visit any of your favorite stores. There will be a little button over on the side that you can drag up and down for your convenience. And this little thing, you press it, and then that's where you can save items you're interested in. You can have it tell you when there's price drops, those sorts of things. You can also do this same thing on your phone using the Karma app, and you can set it up where it gives you notifications via email or mobile push. You can categorize things into different lists, so different wish lists. You can have books, you can have fall decor, you can have any kind of wish list you want, and you can organize your shopping, make it easier for you to refer back to the things you're interested in whenever those items that you have saved go on sale, or there's a relevant coupon, or it comes back in stock. Karma also will scan the web for the best coupon codes that it can find and apply them. The coupon code feature is a special feature that's only available via Karma on your computer, which is why you want to definitely get the extensions. On top of all of that, when you shop through select retailers, Karma gives you cash back. The special feature of Karma is a must because it will do it automatically, and then you can ensure you save as much money as possible. Not only gives money back to you, but it also goes to a good cause. You can get Karma's free Chrome extension through the link. I'll have it in the description bar down below. Jumping into the favorites, so Winnowing Flame, I'm just going to start with that one. That would be the one that I absolutely loved. I read the second and third books, which would be The Poison Song being the last one and The Bitter Twins being the second one. I loved these so much, and you've all probably heard me talk about them enough already. I kind of stopped for a little bit there. For a little bit, I was talking about them nonstop, and then I'm like, I have to talk about other things. But it's hard because it was so good. So many a time, I've described it as just being absolutely bizarre. We follow a few different characters, three main characters. One is a woman who is kind of like an Indiana Jones type character, where she likes to explore and discover, and she is trying to discover more about the wars that have consistently come to their land, but they don't know much about them. So she's trying to discover these abandoned sites, or these sites that have really strange things going on around them, these weird monster things. And then we have a character who is sort of elven, sort of vampire-like, whose entire race is dying out from something called the Crimson Flux, which is this horrible illness. And then our remaining character is a witch who is trying to be kept from being taken. And they all kind of come together, and they're trying to discover more about these wars that have come in the past, because these wars might be coming back, and you don't know much about them, and they don't know much about them. And it's such a good series, oh my gosh. So I have a whole trilogy review for it, and I just need so many more people to read it. It's amazing. I mentioned that while it's nothing like in tone or story like Mistborn, it brought me very similar feelings as to how I felt when I finished the Mistborn trilogy, where I was just so devastated and depressed, honestly, after I got done reading it. I love it so much. Now as I'm talking about it again, I told you I took a break from talking about it. Now I'm talking about it again. I just want to reread it. That was my absolute favorite thing that I've read as of late. I didn't fall head over heels for most of the other things that I picked up. So a lot of what I'm going to be talking about are just books that I enjoyed. Not necessarily as much as that, but that I had a good time with. And hopefully something on this list will catch your eye and sound good to you. It's kind of an interesting oddball mix here because I have some YA, I have some adult that are fantasy, but then I have a memoir on this list. I have romance books on this list. Where are we? What is this? So I'm just going to stick to fantasy for a second and also stick to a book that is the conclusion to a trilogy, and that would be Wings of Shadow. I did really like this conclusion. This is a series that follows Phoenix Riders. They're a rebellious group who are trying to get back into their homeland, and we follow one main character and then two other characters who are, I would say, not maybe as much main characters, but they're still their own POVs. And we have this amazing, fascinating relationship between a character named Veronica and her sister Val. And it's one of those, you know how the Fast and the Furious movies are like all about family kind of thing? This one's like, should it be all about family though? Because sometimes people you're close to are the worst. And I really liked that relationship. So as far as the tone of the books go, I would say they have a more wholesome, come on, heroes sort of feeling to them, but the relationship between these sisters is a little bit on the darker side. I found the sister Val to be one of the most interesting characters, and how she interacts with Veronica and the things that haunt her from her past and the decision making. She's just a fascinating character to follow, and I would say she's kind of the thing that made this trilogy a little bit different from some other ones I've read. I also really like the animal companion aspect with the phoenixes, or I should say mythological creature aspect to it. I like the relationship with them. I will say that it is, I think, as far as how it's written, how the characters are written, it leans a little bit young because it relies sometimes on repetition and of things that are hard-hitting and important. For example, there's a character that's constantly questioning himself. He never feels like he's worth anything. He doesn't feel like he's valued or should be valued. He is always having these thoughts. And I mean always. They are always being repeated. Like, I'm useless. I'm worthless. I shouldn't be here. And you're like, I get it. So sometimes I think if you're a little bit older and you prefer a little nuance with your characters, that at some point you might get a little frustrated by that repetition. But I think it suits a slightly younger audience because that's what this is. It's YA. Next up, we have The Wolf of Orinario and The Icosar Falcon. I kind of picked these up on a whim. I did a video about books that originally started as self-published and then eventually are traditionally published, and this was on that list. And I'm not trying to, shameless plug here or anything like that, but I found a lot of things quite interesting when I was doing research for that video, so I recommend checking it out. I actually think there's a lot of information that, especially if you're a writer, but if you're just somebody interested in knowing more about authors or how books come to be, that you might be interested in that video, so I'll have it linked. But either way, this follows a woman who, she's the queen of this area, this land, and she doesn't have a really strong hold on her kingdom. Everything is very tense, and she currently is separated from her husband. She sort of kind of needs him to rule alongside her. You don't really know what happened between her and her husband. You don't know if something dangerous is keeping him from coming back. You don't know if something she did has caused him to leave. But at the beginning of the story, she has the opportunity to meet him again and try to reconcile. And things don't exactly go according to plan. You also don't know if she's walking into a trap, if it's even her husband who is reaching out to her. It's very edge of your seat for quite a while. Our main character is not a cookie cutter, perfect, nice, amazing main character. She's a little rough around the edges. She has an inflated view of herself. She gets herself into trouble all the time. And I actually kind of really liked that about her character. I also really appreciated that she is a mother character because we don't see parents very often in stories, so she's often thinking about, even though her son isn't really in the story much, she's often thinking about her son and how that affects her decision making. Next up, we have the memoir Know My Name by Chanel Miller. This is about a woman who was assaulted and what that did to her, how she had to battle through it. It is very difficult to read, but it's also a very triumphant story to see kind of how she goes. It's a hard book to talk about because I don't want to be like, oh, it's inspiring, because I mean, the subject matter is awful and nobody should ever have to go through what she went through. But either way, the reason I didn't say this was a new favorite is because I feel so uncomfortable putting books that are this raw and emotionally driven into the entertainment category as a favorite, if that makes sense. But I think it is such a powerful book. Absolutely, absolutely incredible. I tabbed it up a lot. I almost cried. Just the very beginning of the book, I almost started crying. I get emotional just thinking about this book. Oh my gosh. But absolutely, absolutely amazing. Everybody should read this. It's so good. Completely switching gears here and talking about a couple of romance books I picked up recently. We have Sweet Hand and Get a Life, Chloe Brown. I know a lot of people have talked about this one. And then Sweet Hand, I know Jess Owens loves this one. So if you watch her, you've probably heard about these. Sweet Hand follows a woman who is a baker. Essentially, she makes amazing desserts. And it's kind of a hate to love frenemies romance story. And then this one, Get a Life, Chloe Brown, we follow a girl who has chronic pain and fibromyalgia, and she is trying to quote unquote get a life by powering through these sorts of things and not letting these things hold her back from all these different experiences that she wants in life. And so she makes this little bucket list of things she wants to do to help her get a life. And then a man kind of comes along and she sort of asks him to help her accomplish this list. And I want to do an entire video dedicated to these two books. I found them very fun. If you like any kind of romantic comedy, chick flick type of movies or shows or anything like that, that's kind of what these books felt like to me. They felt like a chick flick in a book or romantic comedy in a book. And I had a good time with them, but I do want to talk about them a little more in depth, maybe in a separate video. If you're interested in seeing that, let me know. I will say, if you don't like saucy scenes, you should probably not pick these books up because they do get pretty steamy. But also, if you're somebody who doesn't care, you know, well, there you go. Or maybe you want it. Maybe that's what you're craving. You want the steamy stuff, in which case, get ready for your glass to be fogged. Next up, we have Six Crimson Cranes. This is a retelling by Elizabeth Lim. It follows a girl who, her brothers, there's been a curse put upon them and herself. It turns all of her brothers into cranes, and with her, if she speaks, every word that she speaks will lead to one of her brothers dying. And so she is trying to get rid of this curse while not being able to communicate with anyone, really. And it was interesting because I basically read this in a sitting, and it just flew by. It's very sweet, very wholesome, definitely leans a little on the younger YA side, I would say, but it's just so precious and cute, and I liked it. I wouldn't say it was an all-time new favorite ever, but the more I think about it, the more it was so precious and adorable. And I really liked our main character. She's somebody who starts out a little bit flippant towards a lot of things. She kind of does whatever she wants. She's not necessarily the most considerate of people. And then through everything that's going on, it's a very gradual transition of her starting to be somebody who doesn't necessarily put herself before others. It's not that she's an extremely selfish person. She's just a little oblivious, and she really starts to consider other people, and she starts to really work for a lot of what she needs to do. And I just really like the transformation of this character, trying to find a way to help other people without the use of her voice. I thought was really amazing. I really liked the way the author did that. So it was really fun. There's a hint of romance, and the romance is very cute in this. Not anything like the previous romances that I just mentioned. It's a kind of subtle part of the story, and it's very sweet. It's a sweet story. What else can I say? It's just so precious. I really liked it. Moves really fast. It's like watching a cute movie. Highly recommend. Next up, we have one that I was not expecting to like all that much because I'd heard such mixed things about the first one. Picked up the first one, liked it, and then saw a lot of mixed things about the second one, and a lot of people were like, oh, the sequel never needed to happen. And I'm like, what? Because I read it and I really liked it, and that would be Wild Card. So I was really surprised at a lot of the themes that Marie Lu took on in this sci-fi story. The first one, Wildcard, it is a virtual reality hacker competition story. And then in this one, it's the same main character, but we start to kind of go into a lot of bigger themes of what does it mean to be a person, and is it the same if you are able to kind of hold on. I don't want to say too much about the themes, the tropes that show up, because I don't want to ruin it, but it's just sort of, what are we willing to do to hold on to those that we love? What are we willing to do to keep the world safe? It's kind of big picture type stuff. And the things that I saw, the criticisms I saw toward this one, is that it felt like the focus was taken away from our main character and then kind of put on some other people, and it was less about her and more about these other characters over here. And I don't disagree with that. I think that's true. It just didn't bother me because I really liked the execution of these themes. But if you do want more of that character, you might end up disappointed. Next up, we have the first book in a duology, and that would be Blade of Secrets. I picked this book up when I was feeling a reading slump pretty hard, and this absolutely got me out of it. It was, man, I've been describing a lot of things as cute and precious, but that's what every book I read by Trisha Levenseller is. What's funny is the most popular one, or one of the most popular ones, Daughter of the Pirate King, is the one I haven't read by this author. This one, the way it ended, I feel like if you had just taken out the very end, it could be a standalone. I'm still going to read the second one, of course, but it's one of those books that just, I don't know, it just is, it's light and fun and adventurous, but she does enough with the characters. They have so much personality that it kind of distinguishes itself from maybe a lot of other books with similar setups. So the setup for this one is we have a character who has this magical ability to create these amazing weapons, and there is somebody who wants our main character to make a magical weapon, but they would use it for bad things. And so this main character, not knowing what else to do, goes on the run with her sister. So you get a great sister relationship in the book. Our main character has extreme social anxiety, and that's something I think the author executed very, very well. And then we have these two other characters that kind of tag along. So it's, in a sense, a traveling story, but they're just on the run. And the way that they bond while they're on the run, the sister relationship, I just had a good time with it. Last on the list, we have For the Wolf. This is, I would say, half fantasy, half romance. Not as saucy, again, as the actual romance books that I mentioned, but it's kind of a nice balance. We follow a character who, it is decided before she's even born that the second daughter of the queen is to be given to the wolf, which is this person who lives in this magical, creepy forest, and it's sort of necessary to keep the people of this land safe. So our main character is the second daughter, and so she is to be given to the wolf, and things are not what they seem. I've mentioned this a few times at this point, thought it was going to be a Little Red Riding Hood retelling for a number of reasons. Look at the cover. It's called For the Wolf. The guy is called The Wolf. I actually saw some people also thought there would be werewolves in the story or some kind of shapeshifter. There's not really that aspect. There's magic. I don't want to say too much about the magic, but not really werewolves or anything. And then I was really surprised to find it's more of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, which maybe you get a hint of that by the fact that she has to go live with this person and doesn't really want to live there. And there's even though a mirror that she can look through and see the people that she cares about and stuff. So I'm like, this is Beauty and the Beast. This isn't Little Red Riding Hood. So I think it's kind of a mashup of both of those. So hopefully that helps you go in with correct expectations. Either way, I was thoroughly engaged the entire time. I enjoyed the story. I think it's not as beautifully written, I would say, as some of the books that it has been compared to. For example, it's been compared to The Bear and the Nightingale, which I think both of them are just good wintry reads, or both of them have kind of an atmospheric setup feeling to it, and there's a creepy forest vibe. So I don't think, though, it has as much voice in the writing style as The Bear and the Nightingale did. That one's very poetic and beautiful, I thought, whereas this one's very straightforward. So if you're looking for an adult fantasy that is really easy to get into, This one, absolutely very easy to get into. I enjoyed our main character. I enjoyed the romance aspect of the story. I enjoyed the side characters. Overall, I mean, obviously, like everything else on this list, I enjoyed it. I had a good time with it. Really quick, this isn't going to be a formal showing you my bookshelves or anything like that, but I did redo my bookshelves, and they are kind of rainbow, and I've never done that before, really, and I know some people feel some kind of way when you redo your bookshelves and they dare to be aesthetically pleasing. But either way, I really wanted my bookshelves to highlight fall colors as we go into fall. So in frame, you kind of have the reds and oranges over here. You got some greens over here, you know, you got some of the deeper tones over here. So hopefully for the fall season, it's enjoyable to kind of see that as the backdrop. You're liking that. I mentioned in the Karma showing that there's been that one candle from Target that is so amazing. If you can get this candle, it smells so good. It smells like you're baking cookies. Let me know what your favorite things that you've picked up this last season were. Let me know, are you really ready for fall? Have you picked up anything great for the fall season? Have you already been wearing sweaters? Have you been buying stuff, some coffee that's pumpkin flavored and whatnot? But anyway, don't forget to check out Karma. I'll have all the information for them linked down below. I hope you all are having a lovely day, a lovely season, and I'll see you all later. Bye.